Welcome back to Season 7 of Comic Book Nation, the only show that does it all for geek culture and the official podcast of comicbook.com. I am your host, Kofi Outlaw, and back with me today are my co-hosts, Matthew Aguilar and Janelle Wheeler. What's up, crew?
We're back. We're live.
Woo-hoo!
Yay.
Hey, we are live this week. We are back live with the live audience. Sorry about last week. We had a little bit of a snafu, but we're back here with our live audience. And we got a lot to talk about today. It's an exciting week of content. As we say, we're going to do it all for geek culture. So we're going to be talking about gaming, Star Wars, TV, movies, Marvel, DC. It's a lot to do. So without further ado, no more preamble, no more warm-ups. Let's get to it. Right up at the top, we had some breaking news this morning that Matt is going to shake up the gaming world. Hit us.
Yes. Unfortunately, the thing probably one of the things you've been setting your calendars to this year is not going to happen until 2026. Grand Theft Auto 6, Rockstar Games has announced just earlier this morning that Grand Theft Auto 6 is now coming May 26th, 2026. They released a small statement saying, we are very sorry that this is later than you expected. The interest and excitement surrounding a new Grand Theft Auto has been truly humbling for our entire team. We want to thank you for your support and your patience as we work to finish the game. With every game we have released, the goal has always been to try and exceed your expectations, and Grand Theft Auto 6 is no exception. We hope you understand that we need this extra time to deliver at the level of quality you expect and deserve. We look forward to sharing more information with you soon, Rockstar Games. This was something when we talked about, I think we talked about our biggest things of 2025. I think there was that episode when we were kind of, going through the most anticipated. I have been waiting for this for like months. I just had this feeling like the gaming space, right? It's just delays on big titles, and especially for a while there.
About that before you go off into this too deep.
Yeah.
Do you think this was the inevitable plan? Because I know you were forecasting this. Or do you think that circumstances have changed and they are weathering out a storm? Because right now, all major brands are kind of in this kind of holding pattern of uncertainty because of global supply chain, shipping. Right. The total global economy is uncertain. It's a big thing for Nintendo, we know right now, because they're trying to launch Switch 2. Do you think this is really like this was a must for Rockstar, or do you think they were like, let's maybe just see where this goes, weather the storm, and as a bonus, hey, we can punch up a few things while we're doing that?
I agree with Brywood in the sense that I never thought this was coming in the fall.
you never had.
There was never. Like I was like, man, and I felt it was one of those things too. You started seeing other studios like clear the way, like Sony and Microsoft. No one's releasing stuff around this.
Like it was Drake and Kendrick. Nobody's dropping.
Yeah, that's happening. And then all this, and I'm like, oh man, that's not coming. That's not going to happen. I just can't and they've delayed their games before. Right, especially with these games matter in the sense of they're going to do billions, right? They're going to wait however long it takes, and people are going to wait for it. So it's not like that. I do think, to your point though, that it was a factor, because whether that was timing of, hey, let's just go ahead and do it now. Let's do it beginning of May, right? It's gonna be May. Sorry, couldn't help it. It's gonna be. I couldn't help it. I can't say the word.
Looks like we made it.
But like, I think it affected timing maybe, or that kind of thing of like, hey, let's go ahead and get ahead of it. But I think this was always going to happen. It was just a matter of when. This uncertainty and the real financial impact. I mean, we are seeing that affect so much in the gaming space. I mean, geez, in the journalism space, in the board game space, places are closing. I mean, in the board game space, literally, we've had 2 companies pretty much shut down. One of the biggest companies say, we're not actually working on any new projects. We're just working on delivering what we had. Like, there's so much going on in that way, because yes, that is a real thing. So I'm not trying to downplay that at all. And I think that had a factor in it. I just think this game is too important. And it was especially with like the leaks and everything that happened 2 years ago and all that. I just think it was always going to get a delay.
All right. I was trying to hold out hope that something crazy was going to happen this year, but I guess, hey, bring on Marvel Rivals Season 3. All right.
I really need to get into playing that. Jeez.
Oh,
Come
it's
on.
insane.
Ultron's happening soon. You gotta jump in.
It's been insane. It's been insane. Marvel Rivals is that new heat. Yeah, we're getting it in that game.
Oh, and I
It's
also
crazy.
could not get into the Switch 2 pre-order. I tried for hours, and I'm
Oh, yeah.
pissed.
Yeah, I don't know what's that might not be happening.
The resale's gonna suck.
Our whole Slack was lit up with, oh, did you get one? Did you get one?
I tried the wrong place. It was my fault.
Oh, man. Craziness.
All right, well, that's what's going on in gaming. Let's go from gaming. We're going to go into a little bit of horror. So, trailer dropped this week
How
for
dare
a
you.
highly anticipated kind of new movie that's coming out. And that movie, if it's not on your radar quite yet, is Weapons. Weapons, and it's better if it's not on your radar because this director, Zach Kreger, who directed the movie Barbarian back in, what was it, 2022? Was it 2023? My timelines are getting all screwy. But yeah, he directed Barbarian in 2022, which, this was a fun story. Our former boss, Jim Viscardi, instead of letting me have fun at Comic-Con, he kind of pulled this, totally Jim move and sent me out into the darkness of San Diego to go see a movie nobody had heard about for an interview to do with Justin Long the next day. And it was a movie called Barbarian by this director I'd never heard of called Zach Kreger. And I knew nothing about this movie. So I walked into Barbarian, and if you've seen Barbarian, you know what kind of crazy ride that movie is. And so Zach Kreger became a breakout talent because of Barbarian. And this is his next directorial feature. It is called Weapons. And it stars our girl who's blowing up right now everywhere. What's her name? Julia Garner, who starred in Wolfman earlier this year, will play the Silver Surfer in Fantastic Four this summer, and will end summer with this movie in August. So she's going back to back. In a couple of weeks, Julia Garner's got 2 movies, if you haven't noticed that. She's got Fantastic Four on July 25th, and this coming out August 8th, Weapons. And so Weapons is a mysterious Zach Kreger movie because I sat down and interviewed him during Barbarian. He likes to build these almost kind of like avalanche style things that starts out like a little snowball rolling down a hill. And by the time we get to the bottom, it's all out madness and craziness and horror. And this one looks intriguing. It's about a town where a teacher has her entire class of kids vanish from their homes simultaneously one night. And they don't know why. And of course, this does not do good things for the community. The community does not pull together under this duress. The teacher becomes embroiled, of course, in scandal, suspicion, and all of these things. And then creepy horror stuff start happening with her seeing, visions of these kids painted like jokers in her classroom. We get a bunch of sizzle reel imagery, and it all looks pretty freaky and terrifying and crescendo. So a lot of people are very curious about Zach Kreger in his next film, and if he is true horror maestro, or will this be his Us? We'll see. That's a Jordan Peele reference for those who don't get that. Jordan Peele hit it with Get Out, and then Us came out, and everybody's like, and then Nope came out.
I was curious about how you felt about Us. So okay, that's what
I have turned out. I didn't realize this, but I'm like one of the few Us apologists. I actually really enjoy that movie. I really enjoy it.
Too.
Yeah, so I didn't realize I was like in such a minority. But yeah, a lot of people don't like Us. Well, I do. But Weapons looks, at least visually, it looks terrifying. It looks well shot. Zach Kreger is really got an eye for this. And the premise, I like that he does horror with mystery, and he plays on your expectation. Barbarian works because it thwarts your expectations. It goes from something like, if you don't know what the movie's about, it's about a girl who shows up at an Airbnb that's been double booked in this creepy part of broken down Detroit, when Bill Skarsgård is the person occupying the Airbnb, Pennywise, Bill Skarsgård. So it just goes from there. And that's all I ever tell people about Barbarian. Just watch that movie if you haven't. It starts there, and it's not at all what you expect. It still ends up in some of the craziest places you could ever think. And yeah, so I'm very curious what this movie's going to be. I think it's going to be kind of a dark horse sleeper. We got a lot of great horror movies coming out this year. Final Destination, Bloodlines this month. I am so psyched for that. I was in the theater watching Sinners with my dad, and he saw the trailer for that, and he was like, "What is this?" He's not aware of Final Destination, so he was kind of blown away.
I'm kind
by
of
that.
low key hyped for that.
Oh, I am so low key. That is one of the best trailers I've seen in a long time.
Really?
And when it plays in the theater, it's so good with a family at the picnic and the whole Rube Goldberg mechanics that end up with the father getting taken out. Like, yeah, I'm so back for Final Destination. 28 years later coming our way also. So like, yeah. And that looks even doper with its final trailer. So Weapons coming. It's going to be a good year for horror. So yeah, keep your eyes up. And this movie has a lot of people in it. Josh Brolin's in it. All because we remember the casting is what first put this on the map. People were like, wow, all these people? Josh Brolin, Julia Garner, Alden Ehrenreich, who played Han Solo. Our boy Benedict Wong is in this. Yeah, there's going to be a good collection of people.
Creepy, man. Like
it does, right? And it's everything.
Just
but that's what Zach
these
Cregger
images flash.
It's just that's what he does. He's very good horror about playing something like Barbarian's great because that first premise, showing up at an Airbnb with some creepy person already inside, right? That's such a like visceral, relatable horror. And then it turns out even worse than you think, right? And it's like, oh God. So your children, vulnerable, school. This is stuff you're not. I don't know if Matt's there yet. No, Janelle's not, but like it's playing on every day. There is this fear, right? Like this slight anxiety when you go to a bus stop and you're waiting for your kids. That wait is always this funny thing where you're just like in this little, what's that thing? Schrodinger's cat box where everything's okay, but everything's potentially not okay. And you're like, all right, like, and then when they always get off the bus, it's this kind of like relief. Everybody's home, like everything's cool. And I've had to
wake up in the middle of the night and they're like, they just leave their parents' house. That's scary too. Now I'm like,
that's a fear. That's why we
lock them in their rooms.
No, I have top locks.
Doors.
I have top bolts on all my major doors that they can't reach. So there is no such thing as getting outside my house.
That's great.
I got two children on the spectrum. I've had one just wander out of the house one day. It's not. I am traumatized forever, and my wife partially hates me forever because of that. Like, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And you never think it happens until it happens. Yeah. You're just hanging out around your house, and then you're like, wait, where are they? And
oh my God, the image of the fork thing with the
Oh,
girl jabbing her face with a fork. This looks so intense and creepy, and it plays on so many things that literally is just like my nightmare, like the kid thing.
Well, just like the accusation, if you take care of kids, like if you've ever been a teacher, like this is, if you've been a babysitter or teacher,
summer camp counselor,
like this is your nightmare, right? Something happens and everybody looks at you and it's your fault. And it's like, it's all on you. Right. So, this is going to be good. So put this on your radar. We're going to be talking about this when it comes out. I didn't put a name on it, but how about Janelle? Why don't you take us through the next piece of news?
I actually was like trying to hunt this down, and
I didn't put the link in. Oh, I did a great job.
That's okay. Like, I was Googling it.
No, I did a great job prepping the show. So yes, I guess I'll just Matt. Can you nail this one, or do you want me to? He's muted. Oh boy, we're on it. Okay. So I'll take it since I screwed it up. The basic thing was over at the DCU, we've had a release date shift. I'll throw the link in here just like I did something right. But we had a shift, and we've been hearing the kind of rumors that this could happen, that the Sergeant Rock movie that Challengers director Luca Guadagnino was going to be doing, it got delayed. It's not dead. There was conflicting reporting about this at first, but it's not dead. It's been delayed. And what it is now is we won't be getting that in active production, but it looks like that Clayface movie definitely is coming and is going into active production. So that's going to be coming through. And I think it's going to start shooting this summer, Clayface. But it's now going to be okay. So it's going to be pushed back to the fall, and it's still going to be set for release in fall 2026. So just in time for you guys to come out of your GTA 6 comas. You can come out of the house, touch some grass, go see Clayface.
Do you feel optimistic about this? Like,
I do. I do, because look, they're doing Supergirl off that one comic. We all sat here years ago. We read that Clayface comic. We talked to the creators, and then we looked right at the camera and we're like, don't be dumb. Turn this into like content, like a movie or a TV show. Like, and if they do that, like, I think they can really pull this off, because that comic was Clayface. If you don't know what we're talking about they did a series of Batman villain One Bad Day kind of prestige issue releases a couple years back. Go read those. The Riddler one, the Ra's al Ghul one, and the Clayface one were standouts for me. But the Clayface one is the most haunting, and it is about is it about Boris? It's about Boris, I believe. And but with like Hagen's powers, he has the whole shape-changing powers. And it's a body horror nightmare about an actor and his ego and trying to break into Hollywood and fame, and him being a serial killer to kind of, if an agent rejects him, he kills the agent and replaces them and gives himself the part. And it's a whole kind of meta thing about fame. And it was brilliant. And I think you can do that here. If anything, if DC's smart, this is DC's The Substance, right? That's what we're doing. Like, if you're smart.
And they seem pretty hype on this. Like, this thing has gone from non-existence to being a super priority. No pun intended there. But like, seriously, like, this is if they believe in it this much, I'm excited. But yeah, I really do hope. I mean, and also, if you haven't read those One Bad Days, all of them, like the Bane one is one of my favorites still. The Ra's is great. Like, there's so many really great stories in that run. They could make movies based on all of those if they really wanted to.
Yeah, and they're going full Cronenberg body horror with this, which is that's bold and good and smart, and it's taking something so minor and turning it into something kind of genre thing, which is going to be the theme of our day when we get to Thunderbolts. Because we're going to be, Matt and I both saw Thunderbolts, and we're going to be talking about that. Doesn't even advertise that. Big thing in the show.
Man, I'm so jealous.
But we're going to be, we're going to get into that. How do you take all these obscure pieces and still create something, good out of that? That really we forget sometimes, but in all this marquee stuff, that was the real kind of kernel that got us into the MCU. It was Iron Man, a guy nobody gave an F about. Like, back in the mid 2000s, he was a B, if not C level character in terms of mainstream, if not D. And then Robert Downey Jr. came along, and here we are. So
It's true.
We shouldn't lose that. It doesn't have to be these marquee names. It's just got to be a character in a good concept in an actual good piece of cinema storytelling. And again, we'll get to that with Thunderbolts. But I'm kind of hyped. I want to see this Clayface. I have all the faith in the world in this. And I have faith in the world that DC right now is just going for, even though they might have a large universe plan, they are still hammering out these stylistic swings. I have faith in that. So, all right, that's that. Where are we at? You guys want to jump into TV land?
Yeah.
Jump into TV land. I did want to make note of in the comments. It was
Alex Glean.
I've lost it. I did want to mention, because we were in movies, the Rock trailer with
Smashing Machine.
Man, that kind of impressed me, because I did not look. I like The Rock in pretty much all of his movies, but like, he's that charismatic action star. That's what I like about it. I really didn't actually expect this kind of a performance from that trailer, and that actually really impressed me, I gotta say. Also, the story itself is compelling to me anyway. And Emily Blunt's in it, so I'll go see pretty much anything Emily Blunt is in. She's awesome.
Samesies.
Yeah, like she's great. So and them together are great in other things. So like he impressed me. I've been down on The Rock for a minute because of wrestling things and WWE, and I like the fact that he didn't show up at WrestleMania and then came out with that trash reasoning and all that. It's just none of that. I've not been hyped on The Rock for a minute. This was cool. I liked it. So I got to give props to. I feel like if I can be down on somebody, I got to give props to. And this was good.
Yeah, I mean, The Rock, we forget. I mean, it's people forget. Get Shorty or whatever that sequel was to Get Shorty that they made with him in it, like when he was kind of playing like a flamboyant, kind of more, I think, even gay character in that. Like the Michael Bay movie, Pain and Gain, like
Pain
The
and Gain is
Rock,
good,
when
yep.
he dips into actual character acting or dramatic even acting, like he's not bad. It's just we've been on this kick where The Rock's ego, of course, takes over like most of Hollywood, and he's basically been playing I'm The Rock, I'm the man for like the last
Yeah.
decade. So to see him getting back into actual acting it's exciting. It's nice. It's good. It's good to see things coming back around again because now you're in an A24 movie and you're just kind of actually putting in work. So it's good to see.
I just
good
watched
thing.
it. Wow, it looks fabulous.
Yeah, that was a good note, Matt.
I
There's a
can't
lot that
believe
happens
it,
to
and you're
forget.
totally right, Matt. I can't believe I missed this dropping. Wow,
No, it was. I mean, there's a lot that's happened.
It's
I
so
know.
much has happened.
I
Yeah,
know.
I get it. Like it's like, and
Yeah.
I honestly didn't remember it until the comment. So thank you
Yeah.
for the comment of putting that in there. I think it was all in the game.
All right.
But yeah.
Oh, all right. So that's that. We got one in there. Let's talk about TV. So, The Last of Us. My question is simple this week for The Last of Us season 2, episode 3. This show we said is going to attempt to do something we really haven't necessarily seen before in major TV shows. And so this episode 3 was essentially a soft reboot of the series. Joel is gone, of course, spoilers. Joel is gone, of course. And so now Ellie has to take over as the central character and we rebuild the show and get a sense of what that looks like. Now, this is not total one-to-one for gamers because there's a lot that's different in this episode. A whole lot that's different. Everything essentially is different in this episode from where the game takes things.
Oh, wow.
So this is, there's nothing about this episode except for key beats and like images in specific scenes. There's nothing about this that's like the games. The game did not have a jump in time like this. It's mainly like, you wake up and you get right to it. Like going back at it, of course, because the game isn't going to let you just walk around
Forever.
forever, right?
You just sit in a hospital.
Yeah. So the show has to do something different. So we get this time jump, which is also already a major difference. Like where we're finding everybody after that, 3 months later, the town being rebuilt, them trying to rebuild themselves psychologically and physically, and all of that. How we meet the Seraphites and all of this, and the WLF is all different. Basically just the beats of them leaving Jackson, getting on the road, getting a new rifle, like those kind of beats are the same. But a lot of this episode is all new territory and again functions as essentially a soft reboot of the show concept and who it centers on and why. And it won't be the last time we do this. There will be further soft reboots we kind of do. But this is the face of the show we're in now. So I'm curious, Janelle, how were you feeling? Because I know you're the person that this show is trying to sell right now.
I mean, I hope I don't catch crap for this, but I really just feel like I'm watching The Walking Dead. It is the same vibes to me, which I'm not mad at. It actually makes me happy. I'm like, oh, yay, I'm back in The Walking Dead. However, I just wish there was more focus on what are we calling them in this game? The cordyceps, the walkers. Like I wish
cordyceps, yeah.
the cordyceps. I feel like it's at that turning point where they don't make it about the zombies, the monsters, and it's more about the monsters of humans, like what we become in this world. And I've already seen that in The Walking Dead. And so I'm curious about like if we're going to get more features of these the cordyceps, because that should be the feature to me. Like, that's the scariest thing. I mean, humans, yes, I get the point. In the end, humans are the scariest. What we do to each other, I get it. Like, been there, done that. But I'm more intrigued about like the science of these monsters and like what they are, because they are so different from other zombies that I've seen in other projects. So like that is the only thing that's really keeping me there. I'm still not sold on anyone. Like, I'm not attached to anyone yet, but it's not to the point where I'm not going to continue to watch it. They did set up, some things that I'm curious about, like obviously the WLF and the people with the scars on their face that were traveling, that were massacred by God knows who. I'm very curious about them. It's so funny how like even in this era, like you get all the religious fanatics, and I love it. I just, oh man, we're so predictable. And it's just, yeah, I would say it's obviously not my favorite show right now, but I'm continuing to watch it, and it's filling a gap in TV programming for me. But if there was a ton of stuff on, I might fall off.
No, you won't get any cordyceps. Yeah, I'll tell you that much.
Really?
You won't learn anything about cordyceps. No.
Man.
Yeah, it's not. This show, I see the comparisons, but I will say what this show is it's very much not in the Walking Dead. It's not about the larger macro humans, society,
Versus
all of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
A group of no. This is very much a character focused story, and it's about the cycles of violence and what those cycles kind of beget, which is further violence, and kind of the decisions that we make and why. And can you kind of is there such thing as like making the noble decision to quote unquote save somebody's life while also inflicting so much violence in order to do so? What can you truly escape that cycle afterwards if you're kind of stuck in cycles of violence, is essentially the question The Last of Us asks. And then, it's hashtag take it further for a lot of rounds of take it further. And
I guess it does make sense though, because like if this really did happen, we would probably figure out how to deal with the zombies,
no,
like
but that's the
find
thing.
ways.
Well, I think that's the kind of thing, and I think that's the turn that a lot of people who necessarily haven't played the game don't see in the series, or if it hasn't highlighted it well in season 2. I think the premiere should have done more to kind of highlight the fact that Ellie has become inconsequential, as we said last week. You got to remember, we know that there's a cure out there, but to the world, there is no cure to this.
Right.
They've just been living with it. It's just a thing they got to live with. And, they think right now that the zombies have kind of fallen off and gone into recession, right? Like that's the popular belief, is that they're not as prolific as they were. They've slowed down, died off. They grow. We've seen what happens when they become stationary for too long and kind of grow into their own weird plant life. But again, the key that what Joel did I don't think this is emphasized again in the show enough, is Joel screwed the whole world by making this decision. He saved Ellie because he couldn't get over his personal trauma with his daughter, and he saved one life, but potentially damned the world, because we couldn't get rid of the cordyceps, but we could have made everybody immune to them, and then we could have fought them and won, right? We could have taken them out. But he killed the people who knew how to do that. And this is not a populated world where there are like, well, we killed one surgeon team, let's go get the other one from the Swiss Alps. It's like, you might have killed the last brain surgeon that there is, you know what I mean? And so there is a cure walking around, but nobody can do anything with it. And nobody has the knowledge or the infrastructure to do it. And what I think the show is doing a good job of is subtly kind of showing you the differences in structures here and like where people are. So this episode ends, the big reveal is that the WLF, Abby and Dina are like, or Ellie and Dina are like, we're going to go down there and they should be pretty easy to take out. And by the end, we see a highly equipped and organized military faction, right? They have Humvees, they got tanks, they got machine guns, they're soldiers, they're marching down the street. So they're a military force. So they have technology. They've gotten to a certain point. Same episode, we also see the Seraphites, who are the complete opposite. They're people just walking around with stone hammers and like religious faith. And they have a prophet. We get this brief monologue. And like you said, they're the fanatics. But you also saw Abby and them come to Jackson Hole, look at it and be like, whoa, like these people have lights. They have like a community, like, and they were kind of taken aback by that, right? They weren't used to seeing that. And so, like, there's very subtle hints that, like, yeah, there's differing levels of what surviving in the apocalypse means to the different people. To the Seraphites, it's kind of a back to nature, back to the, you already know the religious arguments for that because we hear them all the time. Oh, this man's world was wicked, and now we go back to the land and back to the, whatever, bows and arrows, what have you. Then there's a WLF who are like, nah, we still military and we still move like a unit, but that doesn't mean they know how to build a home and a community, right? Like, some people were like, oh, I saw people writing like, oh, there's a theory, oh, they should just take the tank and they can attack Jackson. It's like, you can't take a tank from Seattle to Wyoming. You can't do that normally. You can't just drive a tank that, let alone in the apocalypse where you don't have the diesel, like the actual fuel to get there or the resources. So it's like, yeah, the WLF may have all this stuff, but they're also still limited. Yeah. And they can't move too far and they can't do too much. And they obviously are more of a draft you, consign you military force than they are a community of people. So, like, I think the world it opens up a little bit more, but it's still very character focused. It's about kind of Ellie and Abby, all these people beginning to get bigger senses of the world than themselves, their trauma and stuff. Now, I will say, we will still have terrifying scenes of having to traverse, through cordyceps infested areas. You saw we got the excellent season premiere thing with the Stalker that kind of already teases that they're evolving so that we will get new kinds of threats and that essentially the cordyceps are becoming smarter. So yeah, there will be that. They do level up because it is a game.
Gotta level up.
Yeah.
I am really intrigued about that because didn't they they said they're like learning. They're becoming intelligent.
They evolve. Yeah.
Yeah. And
I think this episode especially showcases the biggest difference between those who played the games and are already invested in the story and in the world and things, and those kind of who have it, because like Janelle, you're not alone. I mean, there's a lot of people that haven't played. I mean, for as popular as they are, there are a lot of people that haven't played the games and are watching it kind of play out in real time. And it's just one of those things that like highlights the difference between an amazing story in a video game and an amazing story in TV. And they're both great. Like, I think these are both really great stories in their own right. There is something about a video game story, though, that you're playing it, and those being in those moments when you're in control of someone or something or whatever, it just brings a different element to it. And so when you are, especially in the changes they're probably going to make along the way in the second game to when you're actually in control of key moments and things in the game, you can't replicate that here. You can't replicate that on TV. And you also can't replicate, oh, hey, between point A and point B, we're going to have you go through this area. You're going to have to get into some really thrilling, scary fight. You can't replicate that in television, movies, whatever, because it's just no medium has that other than video games or, where you're just like directly interacting with it. And I just think it's, number one, it helps gloss over slow moments. It helps pace because you're actively doing something and participating and getting more invested in the world on the way, as opposed to a show where sometimes it can lag because you're just watching stuff that's important, but you're just watching it happen. I just think as we get further on in this series, it further highlights like The Last of Us is a phenomenal video game. Both of them are phenomenal video games. But there is something to me that gets a little lost in translation, no matter how good the show is.
Well,
there's a little something like Fallout's different because Fallout takes place in the world. So you're not following along in the same way, right? So it's hard. I don't envy the task.
I think what you're going to end up trying to say here is that, and I think you are correct, is that The Last of Us may end up being a video game that is far superior at imitating the cinematic nature of a movie than it can be a TV show imitating the nature of the video game.
Wow, mic drop.
That's true. Exactly.
Because that's what it was, The Last of Us. It wasn't just a game. It's so cinematic and so well written that you feel like you are in this large movie about, lion and cub trying to get in the first game through this apocalyptic setting. And it is a movie as you're going along. And that was the thing that threw people, is how many times as you're going along through the game and just doing, like Matt said, mundane stuff like trying to solve a puzzle, how to open this fence. You got to look around a yard, find a key, find a thing, build a thing, open the fence. But while you're doing that, Joel and Ellie are talking. They're having these lines of dialogue and stuff is happening where she's asking him, hey, have you ever done, background questions? He's gruff. He doesn't want to talk because he doesn't want to feel vulnerable again because he lost his daughter. But you're watching these things happen as you're going through the game. And that was the trick of it. And it was very subtle. And so that when you get to these action moments in the game, like where it's like, okay, now you have to get across this street of mall and it's filled with cordyceps and you got to get through and make sure Ellie gets through and you're Joel and you care. You've built this rapport and you care about this little NPC girl that's like running with you. And you're like in there, like you're a real parent. You're like, you're taking damage and shooting over her shoulder and doing all this stuff. And you care. In the second game, you're out, for blood. You're like, I'm going to lay all these people down and I'm going to go get revenge. Like, and you're going to do this. And it's kind of, you care so much because of the story beats that happen and the dialogue and the actual movie of it all, the development as that's going through. So I don't think the show, like Matt said, can do the same thing. Like, it feels different when we're just having to sit and watch a TV show scene of Dina and Ellie ride a horse and have these conversations and do that, right? It's a whole thing. You have to be invested in that scene in a different way. And so, different experience. But it'll be interesting to see. And I can't wait to see when we make some of these other jumps, how people deal with that. All right. Let's talk about Andor, another highly controversial week in TV. Andor, Batch 2. This is 3 BBY. And this was an arc about Gorman, the Gorman front, and the kind of fight for this planet, and which we already know, if you don't know your Star Wars lore, is highly pivotal. This is the planet that eventually has a massacre that becomes the public thing that really sparks the rebellion. It's what makes Mon Mothma finally speak up and call out the Emperor publicly. Then she has to kind of escape with the rebels, the cartoon show Rebel, Ezra and them have to get her out, and that's when she becomes the full rebel leader. So that's already established. It's not a spoiler. That's what we know in canon. So what we're watching is the build up to kind of what happens on this planet, right? And we already know from this, they were doomed from the start. We learn a lot in these batch of episodes about why Cyril's back in this, what Daedra's doing, kind of Luthen, who becomes the real kind of centerpiece of these 3 episodes and what's going on with him. And of course, Cassian and Bix and at the center, and Bix and what's happening with her. So I'm curious, what did you guys think about this batch of episodes? I have to watch all of these twice because the first time I can't get them. I have to watch them again and then be like, I get the larger themes, the larger ideas, and like kind of what's going on. What did you guys think?
Matt, you start.
This was I really enjoyed the first set of episodes, but I think I really liked. Sorry, you okay? Yeah, yes. Sorry, I got a little munchkin with
That's
sports.
all good.
Yes, I really enjoyed these episodes more, I think, though, in the sense of just like the intrigue that's building all along the way. Again, I mean, pacing is a thing that I'm kind of amazed that this show does so well, especially in the course of 3 episodes. We've talked about it before. 3 hours of time is a lot. Okay, it's a lot for me to dedicate to one thing. I have a little bit of that, like, I gotta move on to something after an hour. Like I gotta break it up, right? And so the fact that this show continually manages to keep my attention through all those small moments and conversations, and then obviously we get to like big fun stuff, but like the show does it like few others can. And I really dug these 3 as a whole. And this one's also another case of showcasing why it was so smart for them to do the 3 batch thing again, because if this had been split, I would not be as high. I had the same thing with the first set. Like if this had been split into one episode at a week thing, I would not be as high. Like it was the fact that all of it hit together, I think was incredibly important to make it land. So I dug these.
Yeah. I think a lot of people thought these were slower. They were or boring, quote unquote. I thought this was some of the best espionage TV I've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
I'm a guy who likes something like Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, which is a movie of nothing but conversations and vague conversations between spies, kind of hinting at things and not really saying. I love David Mamet's Spartan with Val Kilmer, another espionage movie. So I like that. I like people putting on fake mask faces, having conversations, trying to influence things, trying to push things, never trying to kind of reveal all their cards, and everybody trying to outplay each other. I love a good party scene, which are some of the most difficult things to do. And Andor's just like, we're going to throw one into every one of these. We're just going to throw party scenes into every one of these. And so, like, yeah, so we had the wedding thing in the first arc. And of course, Luthen and Kira in their mission to get this listening device out of Daggett or whatever that guy's name is, Dagon, or the gangster guy, and to do it at a party, right? And then the party takes a turn. We get Krennic back in the show. Ben Mendelsohn's just eating this. Him and Mon Mothma's debate is just like, again, it's Tony Gilroy using the kind of framework of an espionage thing, a show where nobody can really come out and show who they are or have the real conversation they want to have. But you see behind them and in the little unspoken spaces, you see rebels and Empire, people who are going to literally kill each other, like imminent, like within a few years, and starting to see those blows kind of start to happen within a room and in conversations, right? And that's brilliant because you are on the edge of your seat, not just to see Kira get that listening device out of that thing, but to see, will Mon Mothma and Luthen tip their hand to Krennic too much? Can he spot what these people are and like how they're putting on in the act? Is this all going to come crashing down right now? And even though we know the ending of it, it's still thrilling. More to the point, I liked the theme of these episodes, which is kind of the watching, because we got to know how we get from Andor to the beginning of Rogue One, where Cassian is. And that's not going to be a happy, like we keep saying, this is not going to be a happy story. It's clear by now in just the foreshadowing in this episodes that by the time we get him to a place where he's really to sacrifice it all to save the galaxy from the Death Star, it's because he probably doesn't have anything left. And this episodes are kind of about that. They're about like what it is to become a leader of this rebellion, right? Like, what does it take to become a leader of the rebellion? And these 3 episodes are all about the push-pull between the personal and the mission, right? the greater good? And can you have both? And there's this debate about, the bonds are what we're fighting for. It's the love, it's the people, it's the connections. Those are the things we're fighting for. But to win the day, you may have to let go of those things and, sacrifice yourself and sacrifice everything, die, never see the victory, and do that. And that's why Saul Guerrero also pops up in these, right? Who I love Forrest Whitaker. I'm sorry. I love Forrest Whitaker as Saul Guerrero. One of the best recurring characters in all of Star Wars. I mean, when you get a
Do people not like him?
Oh no, there are people who are like, I don't like Saul, or he just gets wedged in here, and I don't think. And
I
it's
love him.
Oh yeah, whenever Saul Guerrero's in an episode of anything, I always know it's going to be better. Like, just inherently better. The fumes, I was going to say, and like we have an episode that ends with just them huffing and getting high off fumes, which is an amazing scene. An amazing scene. An amazing monologue. Another amazing monologue that Saul Guerrero gives that kid. And so this is really about kind of radicalization. What does it take? And that's what last season was all about, fascinating about what are the actual mechanics and day-to-day mechanics of having fascism take over and become this kind of sweeping threat. This season seems to be about what are the actual steps and minutia of creating a rebellion that is functional, organized, and can achieve its goals. And how do you do that? And kind of Tony Gilroy being like, no, bro, you can't just get on Twitter and start yelling. Like, there's a difference between organization and disorganization, passion and execution. And that was the whole Gorman thing, right? Cassian looked at them and were like, they're very passionate, but they're not organized. They're not ready. And they tried it anyway. And we saw our girl Cinta get taken out. So, I mean, I thought it was good espionage TV. Janelle, what'd you think?
I actually really loved these episodes. I feel like there was a lot of heart in them. Like I really like a good dialogue. I really like a good character development. I like kind of feeling closer to the people that I'm watching. So I felt like I got a lot of that in these, and that makes me happy. It makes me like the show even more. I understand that maybe there wasn't like a ton of action in the first two, but yes, you're right. It's espionage, but it's also like space. So that's just so cool to me. It's so unique. It stands apart from other Star Wars, things. So
people have been making a comment. Funny you say that, because this show actually is getting us back to the original aesthetic of Star Wars, which is like retro broken technology in space. Dials, knobs, plugs, people like beep boop beep boop beep beep beep, and like having to do all that with this dusty looking ass technology, which is so cool. Which is futuristic for us, but is also kind of like in an Empire time is just like whatever they can get their hands on. Like, that whole thing with the sequencing and to get the fuel drainage, like, and also just filling in little bits and pieces of a rebellion. Like, how did the rebels get fuel and fuel their ships with the Empire watching everything? Well, you have a crazy fume huffing guy like Saul Guerrero who goes out there and hijacks fuel, right? Like, and it's just like,
amazing.
And it doesn't ever weigh on these things. Like, it never presses on them like, this is how we'll fuel the whole rebellion. But it's like, you begin, if you watching closely, and this is why I got to watch twice, because the first time I was just like, oh, Saul, this is a scene. And I don't even think about where is this taking place? What are they really doing? Like, what's his whole objective? And it's funny because where they're doing this is the future base of the Resistance. They come back eventually and hide out there, the Resistance. So Saul's creating these networks that later on, even after he's dead, they still use and, form the whole Resistance base. And in Force Awakens, that's the planet they're on. So it's all this kind of echoes of stuff, but it was really great. I liked it. And I liked Bix, and I think Adira Arjona is really cooking, like,
Oh yeah.
And kind of, and I like the ending where, and I liked the ambiguity of the ending. A lot of people were unsure. Did they go rogue? Did Luthen send them? Like, was this his kind of olive branch to get Bix back in it? Like, what was it? Because people forget that, like, Bix was his original agent. It wasn't Cassian. Like, he was making contact with Bix. And so she's his original agent, and he's seeing her fall off. But even as Cassian's kind of coming into her own, and yes, Clea, Luthen's assistant. It was great to see her get shine in these episodes because she is excellent, and I love that they're like this low key LGBTQ like friendship couple, like, and yeah, they're so good together. They're so funny, and
Yeah.
using each other as beards. So
But it really
that's
is
fun.
like the stakes feel so high in this, and yet
Stakes
there's
is
not
high.
a lot of
Stakes.
action and like shoot 'em up. Like there's not like pew 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 through the like space. That's like we're not flying through the Death Star, like taking
No,
stuff down. And it's just like I'm like the anticipation and the anxiety is like in me. Like I feel it when they're talking about wanting to do this attack, and you're like, no, don't play into their hands, please don't play into don't do it, don't. And like it's wild. Like it's really cool. I feel very emotionally like entrenched in this, with all of the different stories and all the different characters. So I'm very impressed.
yeah, the larger story, I like what Tony Gilroy is doing, which he's just basically telling you that wars and wars like this, it destroys everybody.
Mm.
Like, and it's going to be a bold thing they're doing, but they're basically showing you like Deidre's pulling away for whatever humanity she may have had left, right? Like she's living this fake life using Cyril, all for the betterment of her kind of career in the ISB and this mission she thinks is so important because she is Empire through and through, born and raised. But she's going to become this detached, empty person, much like Cassian has to by the end of this, in order to do things for his side. So it's going to be like, yeah, both of them are going to have their souls eaten up, probably lose people close to them. R.I.P. Cyril, R.I.P. Bix. And, by the time they're fighting for pure like ideology and principle and stuff, they're going to be pretty empty. So yeah, it's going to be pretty crazy, but I'm loving the story. And this was our last, by the way, probably rumination, guys, on the deeper kind of like, let's just think about and meditate. After this is 2 BBY. We get Mon Mothma having to get the hell out of there and become an official rebel leader. And then we get on to tracking down and learning about the Death Star and having to place a pathway to get those plans, find Galen Erso, and do all that. And so, yeah, and that'll be the mission that Cassian's probably like, I'll die on this one, whatever. Like, and we'll understand why he's willing to kind of sacrifice it all on that beach with Jyn Erso. So, yeah, this is the best Star Wars thing I've seen. By the end of this is going to be the Loki of Star Wars easily. Like just kind of heads above 2 seasons, heads above the
Loki
rest.
of Star Wars. Yeah. Loki's so good.
Yeah. It's so good. And for everybody explaining, don't think I do this alone. I had to have a meeting this week and be like, if we are covering Andor, we have to wait until like all the Star Wars experts start putting stuff up on Twitter, because I cannot catch some half of this. And then I go back and I'm like, oh man, like, yeah, Andor takes a community of people to dissect. It is so deep and like well written and woven. It's crazy. They're games within games within games. Anywho, let's take a quick break. And when we come back, let's talk about Thunderbolts. Okay, we are back. Matt and I got to see Marvel's Thunderbolts. And so we have thoughts about it. Thunderbolts, I will say I'd give Thunderbolts a solid 4 out of 5 stars. I think that's a good place to put it. There's a lot about this. I mean, let's just put it this way. I was like, oh man, when I saw Bob Chapek as one of the executive producers of this movie still, and his name's still on this, I was like, all right. But and that's the former Marvel or Disney CEO who got ousted, Bob Chapek, who kind of put the MCU in a slump. And there are still some, I will say, let's just get the mild nitpicks out of the way first. I think this still feels small scale, like a very long TV episode, like a lot of the content that was planned for MCU 4 and 5. However, I think that the difference with Thunderbolts is there was a creative team behind this movie who is very Jake Schreier, who did kind of Paper Towns. I was trying to see what he did. He did Beef, which is the big thing people know him for. And Beef was a very weird show. It did a lot of different things. In one moment, it would be comedy. One moment, it would be like deep character drama. And then it could get anywhere from action to horror kind of vibes with people getting murdered. So it went all over the place tonally, but worked as this cohesive story about people and kind of their mental health and, you know, rage that we kind of push down and don't deal with, and all these kind of bad, toxic personality traits, right? Thunderbolts is very much that. It's about kind of really about like social ostracization, depression, loneliness, people who are oddballs or find themselves pushed out of the sides and or just looked out unfavorably, like, you know, and trying to find their self-worth and value and kind of all this stuff. I'm going to write about it. I also think it's a very funny meta film about Marvel actors and kind of dealing with what it is to be some of the actors in this franchise who have been kind of pushed to the side, left behind, not getting like the big break or kind of run that they probably thought they were when they joined up. And so there's a kind of level of meta humor to it all. But it's that personality in an actual thematic story and a collection of actors just acting. It's the simple stuff that just make this movie work. Like the ensemble's great. We wandered about that, but like in actual practice, they're fantastic. And even people you don't think would stand out, like what's her name? Hannah John Common's Ghost. You'd be like, who was just kind of this thing in Ant-Man and the Wasp, she's really funny in this and like a good part of the ensemble, and everybody plays off each other wonderfully. And Lewis Pullman as Bob is wonderful in this, and Julia Louis-Dreyfus. There's the comedy, the banter, the snap to this movie is fantastic. And it's just creative. I think it's just smartly designed. The sequences they're very still Marvel formula things. There's a first act, second act, third act. None of that's new, but just the way this movie handles it with a wink, some humor, and some kind of stylistic difference. Like that sequence fight in this room when they first meet each other is 10 times better in the full sequence, right? Like where we're watching on screen when they have this thing, it's great. So I thought it was one of the more creatively unique, enjoyable films. And as we said at the start, it's obscure characters, pieces you didn't think would work or mattered, quote unquote. But when you put them all together and let them kind of cook, it's something refreshingly fun, new feeling, even though it's in the MCU. And even the movie itself, even Yelena's narration says, you know, we're going to go through some of these beats, you know, superhero. There's a opening thing where she just narrates everything that happens in a superhero scene as she's doing it. And it's doing it with this level of kind of humor about where the MCU is now and, you know, how to maybe make it fun again. So that was my take, Matt.
Well, number one, I'll just say this. Yelena Belova for life. Okay. Florence Pugh is just, I adore that. I adore her and the character and everything about Yelena. So the fact that like I knew I was already gonna like this movie because she's a focal point, right? But they really like lean in to those fun aspects that you were describing like throughout the movie, and she is just this like core piece. But we were talking about it earlier, and I think that's one of the things that really works about this movie is that yes, the MCU was built on B and C and D list characters. I know it's crazy to fathom, but at a time, especially at the time when the MCU was beginning, but for a long time before that too, the Avengers as a team were B and C list team. They weren't even close to the Justice League. They weren't smelling the same air. Okay, in the comics, they weren't. They weren't as popular. They weren't as hitting those characters. And so we saw the MCU kind of run with these characters. Captain America was well known on a mainstream, from a mainstream point of view, but he wasn't popular. He was just well known. There was a lot of those things, and so they built that. And you saw that kind of happen, and then when you get to Avengers and they're interacting and everything, it's just so rewarding and so satisfying in that regard. And here it's the exact same thing that works. You get all of these characters interacting, and it makes them it's just fun to see them talk. I gotta give full credit to Wyatt Russell. That
Yeah, not enough's being said about him. Yeah.
Yeah, that character, I did not. Everyone knows how I feel about Falcon and Winter Soldier. I think that series is mostly trash, aside from the Isaiah parts. I think that show is not great, but taking that character and taking like the foundation of that, and he still did good stuff in that series. So I'm not like I'm just that's hyperbole. I'm not saying it's trash, but I am saying I didn't like that series. And what I'm saying is he took that, and you see what he goes to in here and where he's able to run with that. The character just becomes so multidimensional, relatable in a way. It's just
that's what I love about this movie is it's so understated and layered that they let these performers just perform. So we don't have to have these big dramatic, like cheesy moments. Like you get at first it starts as a shtick with what's his name? John Walker.
Yeah.
Being like this douchey Chad Captain America and just total Chad. Like, and then as the movie goes on, and I think it's just one line of dialogue from Bucky. It's not even like it's later on from Bucky that kind of reframes everything. And you're like, oh, I see what this guy's kind of going through and why he needs this. Like he needs this. I'm this still great Captain America guy. Like I need this. And it's just fragile male ego stuff. And like when you look back at the earlier scenes and you're like, oh, it was a winking joke the whole time, just from like the way the girls react to him, like throughout most of the movie when he's talking and they're just like, oh my God, like just Ghost's react. I would just do a reel of Ghost's reaction to John Walker throughout this movie is like half of it is hilarious. And just like the little shade she throws him in like little lines every time she talks. Like the thing about the mask, there's a scene they dedicate to the mask, which is like one of the funniest things. Again, so much meta humor in this that is about Marvel actors and being a Marvel actor and this set of actors who have been, because every one of them is perfectly chosen. Like
right.
Florence Pugh's huge, been just kind of D'ing around, waiting for somebody to do something significant with Elena besides these little pop-ups. Right. John Walker is kind of like, oh, I'm Captain America. Not really in a series people really don't love me. Like, Ghost, we forgot about for many years,
Yeah.
Taskmaster, we don't even have to talk about what people think about Taskmaster. Red Guardian, again, kind of like you have David Harbour, but he's been sitting around kind of. No, Black Widow was this kind of disaster release, and then he's just been sitting around ever since. And so, like, there's this level of humor to it, and they do a good job with it.
He is a very like lovable giant too. I give him credit too. He's great.
He brings, and there's a scene that people are talking about that's like genuinely him and Florence Pugh have scenes in this movie that are genuinely like will make you kind of gulp up and tear up a little bit, where you're like, oh yeah. And when his shtick becomes infectious, where he just wants to be so loved too, but in a different way than Walker, right? Like they're both these Captain America knockoffs that don't really have their own, never really got their own shine, but desperately want to lean into being this thing and in different ways. It's great.
And
but I could talk about it for days.
doing that.
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah.
the thing, right? Like MCU look has made versions of characters that are my favorite. I like them more than the comics. I mean,
Oh yeah, this
geez.
John Walker is much better. And
Oh, yeah, it's not even comparable. Yelena, not even comparable.
yeah.
Like there are characters that have been around a long time, and the MCU has managed. I mean, look, this is I've said it since WandaVision. Like, I know I'm not super high on that show as other people, but Elizabeth Olsen's Wanda is my favorite Scarlet Witch. Like it's
Yeah,
not even
she's eating
close.
that up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I mean, we see Marvel Rivals, like she's beginning to overtake the character. So like they're even drawing her more, like they're
yeah,
starting to
she is Elizabeth Olsen. Like it's
Yeah,
kind of the
exactly.
Nick Fury effect,
Yeah.
right? It's the Sam Jackson thing. Like Nick Fury is like Sam Jackson is Nick Fury. Also, all in the game, you are correct. I apologize. Falcon and Winter Soldier is not trash because Secret Invasion exists. Secret
Yeah.
Invasion is trash.
Yes. So yeah, no, but Thunderbolts I think is a must see for MCU fans, and I think it's a good thing to see with just your family friends as a movie outing. Now, I have a serious debate to get into
Oh boy.
about whether, because this is coming on the heels of Sinners, and I'm really kind of going to watch the box office this weekend. I'm really, really interested to see, because Sinners is an original property. It's kind of fired people up about original IP and making original movies again. And this is like the epitome of the MCU sweeping up its loose crumbs and putting them together in a movie and saying, hey, we're going to try to do something with all this. So I'm kind of curious to see what goes down at the box office. But you can't count Marvel out, because if they're going to make a movie like this and put it out, we still have something to do here. There's still something to play with in this universe. Now, how this movie ends in the Sentry, the Void stuff, I really enjoyed. But how this movie ends is very interesting. And yeah, some of the stuff that happens in the post credits is very, very interesting behind the scenes. And I have some big questions about that and the ethics of that. I don't know. But we're going to see. You know what I'm referring to.
Yeah, because I mean, obviously, we're not going to get into, no worries.
No.
We're not going to get into it now. It's a non-spoiler. We're not going to jump into that. I will say though, my biggest, so like my nitpicks with this movie are, ironically, it's always, and this has been this way the last couple of Marvel projects, is not the MCU of it all, because that's not fair, because the MCU is actually why I like this movie. It's all these characters that literally have been moving around it, interacting. It's when we start like really trying to connect other dots and tether the things and all that. That's when these movies have started to lose me. But that's why this movie works for me, is because primarily it's about this group. And we kind of keep it, other than the Sentry stuff. But the Sentry stuff is so like almost like isolated. It doesn't feel, obviously, I mean, we've written a ton of articles. You can go to Comic Book. I wrote one all about Bob's. Hey, what about Bob? All about Bob and his like connections and to things that we want to see maybe in the MCU down the line. I'm a huge fan of that Avengers run that really brought him back into the consciousness and all that. Shout out to Brian Michael Bendis, because I really dug that run. So like, yeah, I just, that's when Marvel movies lose me. And that's when Brave New World lost me, is those things, when it tried so hard to connect all these things. I'm like, oh my God, okay, just give me a good cat movie.
It's still not going right. Like, it's still not going right. I'm going to be putting some ideas in this. It's still like, people are already cracking jokes about like, on the back of everything we've seen in Spider-Man and Daredevil, this third act is set in New York, right? And so they're just already jokes and memes about like, what the hell are like Matt Murdock and Peter Parker doing, where people are getting voided into shadows and all that stuff. And that's still a thing. So yeah, the MCU is where it gets lost, but the isolated standalone experience of Thunderbolts was really good. I'm excited for this collection of characters, and I could see why they brought this cast back for Doomsday, because they are what they have is cooking and is really good. So
they could steal the show.
Exactly. So I think like it's kind of arguable. It's like, who do we want in the future? Like, I don't know. But all right. that's all we'll say about Thunderbolts because we don't want to spoil too much for you guys. Let's talk about our other big surprise this week. Let's talk about that Ultimate Spider-Man.
Ooh.
Oh,
wait,
everybody's gone.
Well done,
Where
Rich.
did we go?
Everybody died for a minute.
It's a
Everybody got voided.
No, it's a mystery. I thought it was a segue. I thought Rich was setting us up for, for Ultimate Spider-Man.
Yo, man, Ultimate Spider-Man is crazy. I even put a feature in. It's just like whatever Marvel does, another one of those kind of universal resets. This needs to be the main continuity. Like, just pave over the crap we are doing in the main continuity with this, please. Like, every character is a hit.
Except for
Like, everybody in the cast of Ultimate Spider-Man is a hit. The mythology is crazy and just getting better and better. There's twists, turns. How they're doing these issues where we don't even where we get these just jaw-dropping like perspective reversals at the end, or things where we can go entire issues without noticing. Like, they did a Peter Parker issue where we didn't notice Peter's not actually in the issue. Like, and it's all about his family, and it's crazy. So I thought this was pretty mind-blowing. I was so entertained, so intrigued. And again, just taking an established character that we know and adding so many new dimensions to her to make it so very interesting. And one of the best standalone issues I've had. Like, we're on this run of standalone issues lately where we're just getting like that Wonder Woman one, we got that Wolverine one, and then we get this. And I was like, oh man. And talk about taking somebody like Mysterio and making that character more interesting. Like, holy crap. So yeah. Janelle, are you part of a secret mystic cabal we should know about?
I can't reveal that information.
I mean, I know what happens in Florida, so I don't know.
Depends on what part of Florida.
There's totally an organization of fishbowl heads.
No, in Florida, definitely. They probably think they're the Disney board.
What did you think, Janelle?
Oh man, there's just so much going on, and I just love how it gets kind of like tied up with a bow in this one. Like, everything kind of gets revealed. I cannot believe how great of a job they've done of like building up everything, but you not knowing that they are building it up. And then in this one, when they reveal everything and what the story actually was doing behind your back, it's just such a payoff. This is just the payoff issue. Like, it just feels so good when you're reading it. And it's not even just the big reveals, like even just the dialogue between the characters. It's so engaging. Like, it's well written, it's beautifully drawn, and oh man, it's just such a good story. I'm loving this so much. I don't know what the heck is going to happen next, and that's a really, really lovely it's a great thing to not be able to predict what is going to come up next. So yes, I absolutely adore this book.
You brought up a really good point of what's happening behind the scene that you're watching, right? And all the things that are happening in the background that you don't know anything about. And this issue literally has one scene that takes place in the present. Everything else is in the past at some point in time, and it completely recontextualizes, from issue 3? Probably issue 3, going all the way back to issue 3. You're going to look at conversations differently. You're going to look at behaviors differently from certain people, because all this stuff is happening. To pull that off is always impressive. And we've been blessed a bit this year to see actually several books do this in really compelling ways and different ways. And the fact that that's a hard, I don't want to ever glaze over the fact that that's incredibly hard to do because most times when you do that, you muddle a bunch of stuff and then stuff's doesn't click, and you go back and read and go, well, that doesn't make sense. It's very easy to trip over yourself when you do that. And the fact that they've all done this so well, and especially this, and also Ultimate Spider-Man has a way of, they have rebuilt almost every main character to this point in Spider-Man lore, and it's been great. I mean, we've seen Jonah, we've seen Ben, like Peter and MJ's relationship, and that's not even including the kids, right? Who are kind of this new addition, but like Harry, like we've seen so many Norman, we've seen so many ways that they've rebuilt characters, and then we got to the villains and saw Craven and Mole Man and all. They've done so much, and now like this was, they even make a great joke, and I don't want to say what the joke is because it spoils stuff, but like they even make a very like meta joke about the assumption people would make in the story in this story. And it's a conversation between two key characters, and I can't spoil it, but like there's a conversation there, and it's a made a joke about what readers might have assumed was happening early on, and then they laugh about it. It's just, this book is so good, man. I don't you know, it's fantastic. I mean, look, you read one Spider-Man book, you read this one.
Yeah. No, it needs to replace. I can't get into the main universe anymore. There's just no way. The characters here are so much more complex, layered, like adult, well drawn, like nobody's kind of quite clean. Everybody's kind of shady. Everybody's kind of lying. Everybody's kind of having a true, like, you know, no conversations are fully genuine. I still think there are so many surprises still built into this potentially that you don't even ask about. I keep asking, like, MJ in this is still Tommy to me from Martin. I am like, what is your damn job, man? Like, who do you work for? Like, who is giving you all this money and like influence? But it's so seamless that we don't stop to ask. MJ's just like, she's a boss bee. She comes in, she handles things. She's got money. She's like, hey, I got this. She's high-powered PR, but we don't know for who, what, why, where. And I feel like that's another shoe to drop.
3 issues from now, we're gonna be having that
like,
conversation.
Oh, she's Kingpin's #1 assistant or something, and you're like, oh my god, like and that'll be crazy. So it's really well done what they're doing here, and just like it's gripping storytelling. Like I can't put this down once I start. It's just like I got to get to the end of this and see what's going on. Also, random callback. Sorry, I know, random. But during our Thunderbolts talk, I meant to say, typical men sitting up here just ranting and raving. We did not highlight that one of the secret powerhouses behind this movie that's not getting enough shine is Joanna Callow, who is a writer, director, producer, and her credits include nothing but hits. That HBO Max series Hacks. BoJack
so good.
Horseman. Yeah, BoJack Horseman. She's the co-showrunner of The Bear. So she is also, and she also was a writer of Beef. So she is one of the reasons why this is cooking, because it's a lady who is obviously knocking out some of the best kind of dramedy, comedy type of things out here, or at least comedy about, you know, how screwed up we are. So yeah, Joanna Callow, that's a random callback, but let's move to our next comic.
Well, so this one I can kind of did you get a chance to read this one? Because I know you've had a
I did not.
I scrolled through it. I'm about halfway through. Yeah.
So I was going to lump this in with because this is really a part of the free comic book day, which, by the way, hey, Saturday, free comic book day. You should definitely head out to your local comic store. They're going to have a bunch of free comics. A lot of times they have like contests going on and prizes you can win and sales and all kinds of things. So if you're going to try that out, even we actually just make sure to check like your local events. Because like we just learned that like our library is actually jumping all in for free comic book day, and some of them are offering like where you can go in and pick up a free comic, and they have events on like this is one of those days, right? We like to advocate for comics. This is one of those days you can advocate for comics, get your kids involved, family involved. Make sure to go do that if you can, right? But one of the things that is releasing is the DC All In Absolute Universe special, which has 2 stories. One is kind of really a launching pad for it's kind of the 0 issue for Superman Unlimited, which is Dan Slott's upcoming Superman series. You got a little bit of a taste of Dan Slott's kind of Superman stuff in the recent Summer of Superman special, but this one's really kind of the first chance where you get a look at kind of the bigger story he's doing there. And then there's a Absolute Universe story that kind of is from like the viewpoint of Mirror Master, and so they're doing some stuff there, and it's cool. So that issue is definitely going to hit. That's going to be one, but we just talked about Ultimate Universe, Amazing Spider-Man and Ultimate Universe #1. is one that you will also want to pick up because they're going to be doing some, fun stories there and a lot of times these free comic book day issues do have kind of like one or two kind of big teases for kind of that next thing of what's coming down the pike. So you're definitely going to want to check that out. Fantastic Four, Giant Size X-Men, Energon Universe 2025 special. Don't miss that because those Energon Universe specials are always big. Star Wars #1 is hitting. Power Rangers VR Troopers 1 is going to give you a preview of that. Thundercats Powerpuff Girls 0 is happening. Make sure to pick that up. Iron Man and his awesome friends and Spidey and his amazing friends will have a special free issue. So that one's always a hit with the kids. Superman's Good Guy Gang will have a preview of their graphic novel. Speed Racer 0 is also hitting. That one's coming from Mad Cave, I believe later this year. And then Critical Role Black Hammer #1 will have a free comic book day issue. So that's just like kind of some of the bigger hits. There's going to be a ton of things that you can pick up, but it's one of those days. Like, make sure to head out to your local comic store if you can.
I just finished it, and oh my goodness, that ending.
So let's talk about that. Yeah, let's give it some time. Let's talk about we can't go into spoilers, obviously, because it hits on Saturday.
Good thing I didn't say anything.
but we can definitely kind of non-spoiler impressions. What'd you guys think?
It was just very straight. It's a very straightforward book, and it just builds a little bit of the world and our Superman and what's to be expected, I guess, going forward. And then boom, just something big happens at the end and you're like, oh snap, okay, what's gonna happen? Yeah.
Kofi, what are you most excited for in the lineup there?
Oh, I haven't gotten through the DC one yet. I am not through, so I do not know yet.
Oh, I meant from the free comic book day issues.
Oh man, see, you're setting me up. I don't do free comic book day. I leave it to you guys to tell me what matters. It's not my thing.
See, he
never has. I think Iron Man and his awesome friends. Just the name of it. I love it.
Yeah, that's their spinoff show that's coming. Or it's already out. Is it already out? I might be wrong on that. It might already be out. But yeah, that's the full thing. So they're getting their own little shining time in the sun. I'm gonna move into my agenda then, real quick, so we can maybe actually get this all out of the way before Janelle has to leave. We can have you here for the whole thing. That's awesome. Yeah. So along with the Grand Theft Auto news, there was some big news that happened actually the day before, which is we got to see a ton of gameplay from Borderlands 4. Now this is aiming to wash away what the movie brought up with Borderlands. It's easy to forget that Borderlands is a successful video game franchise, and a lot of people like it. Not a lot of people like the movie, but a lot of people like the games. And Borderlands 4 had a debut trailer, I believe, at the Game Awards. And that was kind of more like a kind of a brief glimpse of gameplay, but kind of this more cinematic, hey, we're taking a look at the story and stuff. Here we just get a ton of gameplay, and my God, I think it looks. Earlier screenshots and footage looked good. Like it looked good, right? But I think it just is beautiful in motion. Like seeing some of the gameplay pop up and some of those characters moving and switching guns and moving from it looks so fluid, and it's just, man, I think it really lost something in translation the first time around. I think it looks really good here. They gave us a look at 2 of the main 4 Vault Hunters. And they are really kind of trying to spice up the gameplay there. There's also, they kind of made a big announcement ahead of time that there will be DLC coming that will be bringing more and different Vault Hunters to the game. But Vex the Siren specifically, her gameplay looks amazing. Like it's just like seeing that in action. It's got some kind of fun supernatural elements to it. You can call in minions. That has me written all over. Okay, I would like to be better with Magic and Marvel Rivals because I can call my little demon minion in at all times. This is giving me those vibes. There's also kind of more of a, it's not open world, but they are kind of trying to make it less linear in the fact that like there's not like you don't pick up missions anymore. You just kind of explore the world, and you can kind of end up running into a mission, and there's going to be other kind of special places that you can go to for kind of this little small mission, and you know what you're kind of getting when you go in there. But stuff also just kind of happens throughout the world, so it's not open world, but they are kind of trying to widen the sandbox a little bit. They've made changes to like some of the, there won't be as many legendary weapons that drop as opposed to Borderlands 3, but they're kind of also trying to go in there and make it more satisfying. You're constantly getting compelling weapons as you go through. This will feature crossplay, so it doesn't matter. You can jump on online co-op with whoever is on any console, doesn't matter, which is great. They've made a bunch of kind of changes and enhancements to the way weapon augments work and armor and all those things. Returning favorites, Moxie's going to be there. Claptrap, of course, is going to be along for the ride. But the actual new Vault Hunters themselves look really fun to play. So lots of changes happening, which is good. But I already enjoyed the core Borderlands formula. And so this really, this is, I've been looking for that co-op, that fun co-op thing to play, right? Because Marvel Rivals is, that's my, at this point, kind of my daily game. But I still want something that can kind of get that, I don't know, more classic shooter feel, and this is that, right? But you can also play the solo if you want. So lots to be excited for there. I was very happy. What did you think of the footage? Did you guys get a chance to look at it?
I actually have not looked at it, but now you have me sold because I'm excited. I've just been so focused on the freaking Switch 2, and I'm so mad. I'm sorry to bring that back, but I tried so hard, and I'm so mad.
I tried so hard.
And I didn't get my Switch.
But in the end, it doesn't even matter.
Oh my god. Okay, so I'm gonna dip into if you can bring up the trailer for this one. Lords of Ragnarok is a fun game that is set. It's kind of like if you take Nordic and Viking mythology, and then you add some kind of big sci-fi and even some more kind of fantastical fantasy elements to it. That's the vibe Lords of Ragnarok has. It's a 1 to 4 player strategic asymmetric board game. You're kind of trying to claim territories, but you're also able to, you're taking on these kind of bigger than life monsters and creatures and characters. Loki's in the game, right? You're taking on Grendel. Like there's all these different characters that are populating the board, but you're also kind of building the board, because as you go through, you can actually build monuments, and those monuments have effects on the gameplay itself. So you can send priests there. You're this kind of Viking army, and you're kind of trying to take out the other ones, as well as take out some of these bigger than life icons. But you can send your priests over here to go pray at the monuments that you've built, and also some of the ones that are on the board from others, and give you boosts and things like that. In combat, your army grows over time as far as levels up, but then you can also actually take control of the monsters that are on the board and affect the other players. So there's this thing of there's sometimes in board games and things, when you're waiting for your turn, it can get a little, depending on the length of it, can get a little dull, right? Because you're not actively doing things. And in this game, there's a lot of different ways where other players' actions affect yours. So there's this action wheel in the middle of the board, and so when someone takes an action, actually other people who want to take that same action also take their action, and it affects them in different ways. So you're rarely just sitting there, not oh, okay, well, I'm gonna wait for my things to do, right? And in a 4-player game, you can have to wait a minute, but this game kind of actively engages you in a lot of different ways, keeping your attention, your focus. You're always kind of looking at something. You're looking at what the other players are doing, adopting your strategy on the fly. And it's really cool in that way. It's also, I think, gorgeous. I love the visual aesthetic of it all. The minis themselves are really impressive, but they're also huge. They stack really high on the board. And the monuments tower, there's like you're assembling those monuments as you go, right? So they actually like come apart and they're kind of modular. So there's just a lot really going on in this game, and it keeps your attention as you move. I think the artwork is gorgeous. And there's levels of strategy. So like you can play this the first time, kind of have an understanding, but there's a lot of depth there if you want to go back around for like replayability. I think it's really cool. You should definitely check it out, especially if you were into kind of Vikings, that overall mythology. The previous game that was kind of based in the system was based on Greek mythology, which that's probably my favorite sort of mythology in that sense. But I still love kind of Nordic and Viking mythology, and those minis are just stunning to me. And yes, you are also moving ships all around. Like there's a lot happening on the board, so it keeps your attention. So yeah, I really dug this. And if you're looking for something kind of unique and crunchy, I think this is a good way to spend your time. So Lords of Ragnarok, that is my review for that, and that is the end of my agenda this week.
Bravo.
All right, that's Matt's agenda, and that'll take us out for today. This is Comic Book Nation. We are the official podcast of comicbook.com, and we are here every week breaking down all things geek culture with you. You can find us on the social platforms, and you can find our Comic Book Nation pages on the socials. You can download us on your favorite podcast platforms. Make sure you subscribe and check back in with us every week for the latest in geek. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Janelle. Everybody have a wonderful weekend. It is May. It's May.
May.
We get
Next
Cinco de
week I'll be
Mayo.
40.
Yeah. Janelle's old as hell. We'd like to post on Glass Ceiling. We're looking for a podcast host.
Happy early birthday.
25 to 35. No, I'm just kidding. We will be here next week. Janelle's birthday. It's Cinco de Mayo weekend this weekend. Shout out to everybody celebrating. It's got a crazy weekend to get to myself. So let's get on out of here because we have a bunch of work, and it's International Harry Potter Day. Shout out to all you, all you wizards.
Is it really?
Cast a spell. Yes, it is. It's the first thing I get to for work when I get out of here. So, all right, let's go. Comic Book Nation. We out. Peace.
Thank you.